All right, welcome to the February Ask Us Anything. You're in for a rough, but that's a hard month to say. Let me just put that out there.
It's the hardest of all of them.
It is the
I
hardest
can't
of
wait
all
for
of
March. Nice in one syllable. Just bam.
them. March for the slow among us.
Marching to our impending doom.
So hang in there with us. We're doing a new solution. So far, we're using a platform called Blab to host the Ask Us Anything today. Usually we do Google Hangouts, and it's a challenge so far. We're trying to figure out how to
I'm going to say
find
this is going to be awesome. We just have to stick with it and figure it out.
Everything is awesome. So just one more time, if you didn't catch us earlier, we think that you enter your questions over on the right-hand bar, and if you start it with /Q/Q, then it shows up as a question. But what that means, I have no fucking idea.
Well, it just indents it with it just indents it with a little Q, so you can see that it's a question.
Okay, but you can't sort by them. You can't pull them around. I don't think.
But we're gonna read comments too. So
it's not like we're gonna have 1,000.
Yeah, this is
all right.
fine.
All right. Well, I do think you can vote them up and down, though. I remember seeing something about that.
In my mouth.
You got muff in your mouth?
Yes.
Yeah, for those of you not watching and just listening, Dave has a big giant 70s grandma muff on his on his mic. I don't know what the deal is, but it seriously looks like your grandma's muff.
High five on that. All right, we'll just.
I can't even close out my camera. Oh, this ain't gonna work for me.
Oh, Dave.
Oh, you can't close your camera.
This is my favorite.
I can't mute the microphone either. That sucks.
No, you can mute yourself. You can mute yourself. Dave.
I can't do the camera though. Okay.
You can't do the camera.
Awesome.
No masturbating during the show for you.
No more sloppy hands for Dave during the show.
Well, that takes all the joy out of the show for me now.
Yeah, but it really does make it better for the rest of the world.
I hope nobody on Blab is actually tuning into this thing that doesn't already know who we are, or otherwise they're just gonna go right to hell.
Yeah. So I did decide to get my drink today, but I've packed away all my respectable glasses, so I have it in a plastic tumbler. I've packed away absolutely everything. And
it's February. So
when are you moving, John?
I just have water.
You want to buy my house?
I would.
There's no way. I can't move until my house sells. So that's kind of the problem, and it's a pain in the ass. And I'm living out of essentially boxes with bare walls, and I'm
He's so
very,
angry.
very
You're both
frustrated.
so angry lately about totally different things.
Yeah, I'm very frustrated about everything. It's like we aren't really living in our house. Like we've reduced everything. We wanted to get rid of one of our dressers to make the bedroom look a little bigger, and so Robin and I consolidated into one dresser. So we packed away most of our clothes, and we're living out of we put shit in the drawers that we would normally have out, and it's just very, very uncomfortable and annoying and stressful. So, but whatever. So should we actually talk self-publishing rather than just this?
That's probably a good idea. I think we should start with the very first question here. It's left by someone named Sterling Stone, and they want to know how lucky are you
Amy
team. Right. No, I do know that. But I think we should answer the question because I think we're very lucky to have Amy on the team. Round of applause for Amy. Wow, that's it.
Muff applause.
Wow, Dave is petting his grandma's muff. Okay. Author W.C. Hoffman wants to know if Johnny felt the same as he did upon hearing Dave needing a hot chocolate to warm up before bed because it is so damn cold and redacted. Bitch, please, Dave. I was listening to this while driving in Michigan where it is currently -3 actual. Yes, Dave, bitch, please.
I did not hear that. I did not hear Dave talking about his hot chocolate, so I don't know when that actually was.
It was 35, 40 degrees.
I did hear that one.
So I'm sorry. It wasn't -3, but it was 35 or 40, and that's pretty fucking cold for Florida.
That is cold for Florida. It's the coldest it's been around here in the mornings. Is just around 30. It's cold enough to frost away.
Yeah,
I'm not bitching. Did that sound like bitching? It's a matter of fact. The coldest it's been is around 30. But it was 80 today.
Thomas has a question. He says, "When did you see Dave's grandma naked?" So I think at this point, maybe we move on to the actual questions because I mean, let's face it, we can just talk about Dave and his
grandma muff all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
All right.
Okay, so my grandmother is dead from cancer. So thank you very much.
Wow.
Bring down.
How do you feel about yourself now?
I feel pretty terrible. Somebody gave you a high five for that, though. Hey, mine died of dementia.
No wow. Okay, so somebody pick an actual question.
Oh, I did get a high five for that. Wow, you people are sick.
Can I take high fives away?
Okay, Eldridge Black.
How do you get 29, by the way? What the hell?
I don't know. They all came in at once, like a big tidal wave. Thank you all for your awesome content. I love the sheer range.
People that voted for Sean over me, you all suck.
Yes. Thank you for all your awesome content. I love the sheer range of podcasts you make available. Oh my God. This is too distracting. David now up to 63 high fives.
Oh, I may be drunk.
I love Blab now.
All right. From Eldridge Black, take 2. Thank you for all your awesome content. I love the sheer range of podcasts you make available each week. My question is about Iterate and Optimize. Are there going to be print and audio editions? It's Kindle only right now on Amazon. Also, out of sheer nosiness, what caused the delay in publication? Did you have to change content, etc.? All the very best, Eldridge Black.
Is it only? It shouldn't only be Amazon.
Yeah,
maybe that's the only place where we have it up.
Yeah, it will be everywhere, and it will be print for sure. In fact, we finished it, final today, and sent it to Garrett to compile. So it's actually in post-production now. And that's not a nosy question at all. We actually did an entire, I think it'll drop on Monday, an entire episode of the Almanac that gets into the details about Iterate and Optimize and why it was, why it was delayed.
That one, or did I do that one? I don't even remember that.
I did that one. I did it last week. But in short, it was just it wasn't when we wrote Iterate and Optimize, it was supposed to go wider than Write, Publish, Repeat. It was a book just for artists in general. And then we wrote the book and realized that it was actually smaller than Write, Publish, Repeat. It's basically a sequel to that book. And anybody who's building a writing and publishing business will want to read it. Anybody who's familiar with kind of what we're doing will want to read it, but it won't go to like painters and musicians and stuff like that, like we thought originally when we were conceptualizing it. So we just kind of had to, after we had the rough done, we kind of realized what the book was, and then we had to go back and tweak it so the messaging was right. And then we really wanted to get those interviews right because the whole book is a lot about what we were doing in Sterling and Stone, and it needed to be a little broader and bring in some other people's experiences. So we wanted to get all the interviews in, transcribe those, make those really readable. And it took time to book all of those. And so there was no way we could get them all done and transcribed and into the book before December 3rd, which was our original deadline, our original pub date. So we just needed another 3 months, and we figured, we needed the new year to schedule them. So that was it. I think the delay made the book much, much better. And we do have a broader book coming out later this year, but that's it.
Oh my God.
I want to punch the inability to scroll right in the scrotum.
Yeah. That's bullshit. Why? I got an idea. Why don't one of you like go to the new messages and I'll go to the old, or vice versa. So that way we both aren't going up and down the thing.
I'll watch new ones.
Okay. How can you guys not scroll? I can scroll.
I can use the arrow.
You can scroll by clicking up and down. There's no actual scroll bar.
Yeah, there should be a scroll bar. But
so I'm going to try something. There's a little X that comes up if I hover over this. And so Eldridge Black, I am not giving you the finger. I'm going to see if, since we've answered this, if I click this, if it does go away. But then, so that's good at least. But then do we...
I don't have that on mine.
You don't? If you hover over comments...
Yeah, you do, because I do too.
I don't. You're a host. Both of you are hosts. I'm a guest. I don't know how that bullshit happened.
I'm actually now seeing there's supposed to be a way to promote you. I'm not exactly sure how that
there's a star up at the top. There's a star.
No.
Is that this button right here? Is that a star? Is that the one?
No,
What's
you're
the-
giving me
is
high
a-
fives.
Yeah, I know that was a joke. So do I click? How do I can kick you out? I'm not sure how exactly I. Thanks, we got a love fest going in here. Anything to beat Sean. So what's this? Is this, if I click that, does that do something? It gave you a check mark. I don't know what that means. Oh, I think I'm following you now on Twitter.
All right, great.
No, I don't know a way to promote you. But,
All right,
but
I'm going to go to the next question while you guys figure that out.
are you
best show
feeling
ever.
this may be useless? Is that what you're saying? I
This,
don't think I'm only seeing questions now, which would be nice.
This is from Baricio Wolf. I love your name. That's pretty fantastic. Hi, guys. Big time fan of your books and SPP and Worst Show Ever podcasts. Just wondering what's the best approach to getting reviews before publication. By the way, Dave, get out the lotion. I've got a British accent. Baricio, if that is your real name. Art copies are, oh man, really, Dave? Art copies are the best way to do that. Just, if you haven't published anything at all yet, it's going to be much harder to do that because you just don't have the pool. But
sorry, did you say ARC copies?
Yes.
Advanced reader, because I heard it as R copies, and I ARCs, advanced
reader copies. And if you've never published before, then that's harder. You're going to have to rely on family and friends, which Dave hates that answer. But that,
and sometimes Amazon deletes those.
Yeah, they'll delete them anyway. But it's hard in the beginning because you can put your book up for something like NetGalley, but that costs money, and most people who are just putting their very first book up kind of don't have that disposable. It's not even income at this point. But if you have a little bit of, you want to develop your list. We always talk about that, and from that list, you can always develop like a subset and ask people who want a free advanced copy that are willing to leave a review, and just make sure that you call that list. So if people are getting your books and they're not reviewing them, then don't let them get another book.
Yeah, that's the best way. And then you would probably want to, make sure they get the book a few weeks ahead of time, and then you can remind them.
And from everybody we've ever talked to that does do this, they say the numbers aren't that big of people that take the book versus those that'll leave a review. It might be 2 out of 10. So you have to give away a lot of copies to get even a small amount of reviews.
Yeah.
Yes, but then I would argue that if you're prolific, stop sending them to the people who don't review. You know what I mean? Send to those 2 next time. Don't send to the other 8.
Yeah, it's really true. And it's hard because the reviews really do sell the book. That helps. So you do need them in the beginning.
And you can't be a jerk about it either. You can say, "Hey, what happened? I thought you were going to leave a review," because then people, you don't want people to feel like they have to do it, like it's a chore to read your book, because sometimes stuff comes up in life and they just can't for whatever reason. So you can't give people a hard time about it either. So you got to be very careful.
It is really worth.
If you're new, give them a little bit of leeway too. Don't feel like you have to do it by 9 a.m. on launch day or whatever.
Yeah, and just over time, really start to segment your audience and try to develop a street team that is there on day one to leave that review. That does make a huge difference.
I have a street team. It's led by my pimp.
And then just
people are taking away high fives now.
As they should.
Okay. As they should. Okay, so what else? I'm at the new comments, so it's going to be hard to.
Okay, I've got Mark. Hi guys, just wondering how Story Shop is coming along. Will the beta version be ready in time for the summit? Seth is actually kicking ass on this, but it's all behind the scenes stuff. We haven't actually seen anything, but we're getting a lot of updates, and he's very pleased with progress. And his aim is to absolutely have something to show by the summit. It's all technology stuff, so I don't think there are any guarantees there, but it looks really good. Yes. And he seems really pleased with the progress, and, I trust Seth. So if he seems happy and he thinks everything is on schedule, then I'm pretty happy, and I believe that everything's on schedule. So yes, I think by the summit we should have something to look at.
Oh, I was just going to say, I don't think by the summit. He was saying April from the beginning. Summit is late March, but maybe.
Right. Yeah, but I
like
think
an update. When you
yeah,
say something.
Something. Just I don't think we'll have a usable thing that we can all play with. But yeah, I think he'll have something to
Speak for yourself.
What's up, Grandma Muff? I do think he plans on showing us something by the summit. But if I misspoke, I'll correct that as soon as I can.
He's going to be there. He's going to whip something out on stage that we can all play with after he shows it to us.
Yeah, at the very least, I think that Seth will, give us all a collective update at the summit. Next question, also from Mark. What happened to the live podcast on YouTube last week? Man, I forgot already. We had Google was just kept
Google
dropping.
Enter Blab.
Yeah, that's right. That was the last straw. That's why we're on Blab tonight. So Google kept dropping Johnny every minute.
I think it was actually. Was it me? Maybe it was me. I was going to say you, but yeah, it was just.
Yeah,
I see Gion's muscles in my.
And he had to keep coming back, and it was obnoxious. So we moved over to Skype, and then
can't broadcast.
Yeah, so there were no live, and that's why we're trying Blab now.
I'll read the next thing. Author Abilene says, do you guys think that 753 pages is too long for one book, or should I split up into 2 or 3 books? Zether90 responded saying Winter by Marissa Meyer was 800 plus and people loved it. Just make sure there's no fluff and you should be good. I'm interested to hear their thoughts, though.
That's really hard to answer, Pat, I think.
Depending on
I think it totally depends on the book. I think if it's and what kind of experience you want. I mean, for me,
I publish or beat, you can add another 200 pages to that.
Well, The Stand is over 1,000. I mean,
I feel like if it's, I feel the same way about books that I do about movies. They could be as long as they need to be, but don't waste my time. Like, I don't want to watch a shitty 3-hour movie, but there are plenty of movies that are 3 hours that I really love. So, you just have to be, you have to know what you want the reader to experience and then provide that experience. I think, what the hell? Is that Amy doing that?
That's Johnny, I think.
No. Yeah, I mean, it just depends. If it tells one story, then I would argue that then there's no such thing as too long for a book. But there are plenty of things that it does make sense to split them up. But like, okay, so Unicorn Western, the full saga is 250,000 words. I don't know how that works out to pages. And it kind of tells one story, but we wrote that as 9 individual books. It just depends on how you would. It's really hard to answer.
And it works as 9 smaller books too. I'm reading a book right now, and I don't want to say what the name of the book is because
Mein Kampf.
But it's who had under half an hour before Dave brought it. It is 7:30 or 8:30.
Not a day without a Hitler reference, really.
No, it took 20 minutes into my
coffee mug
today before we got to Hitler. So the book I'm reading right now feels really long, and it feels like it should have. It's genre fiction, and it easily could have been, divided into 2 different books, maybe even 3. So it just depends. I think you'll know. If you feel like it's too long, it's probably too long. If you feel confident about the length, then it's probably great. Have you guys seen Deadpool yet? Did you really, Dave?
Yes, I did go see it.
Did you love it?
I liked it a lot. Love is a strong word that I use for specific things. But yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about seeing it. I'm kind of flabbergasted how well it's doing. Rotten Tomatoes has like a 95%. Like, critics are 89%, which is really high for that genre, and audience are like 95%. But what's instructive to anybody listening to this about Deadpool is that it's a movie that, if you don't know what Deadpool is, it's a comic book movie. It's an R-rated comic book movie, and it has a pretty small but very dedicated fan base. And that Marvel didn't necessarily want to make the movie because it's R, and so they've always thought, PG-13, that's the holy grail of comic book movies. And if you make something R, like Punisher, for example, should be R.
Sony made it, didn't they?
Well, yes, but it's
20th
a Marvel
Century
character.
Fox. 20th Century Fox made it. I'm sorry.
So they went ahead with a smaller budget and really let it be true to the comics, true to the character, and not dumbed down in any way. And it's just been crazy successful. It's already made its money back. There's a sequel in the works. Audiences are thrilled with it.
There's nudity, there's gore. It's everything that a comic book movie should be.
And it's kind of cool. It's a good example of
credit scenes, by the way.
It's a good example of, you know, really staying true to your vision and knowing that your audience will find you. And we talk a lot about that. And I think I kind of want to see. I'm not a Deadpool fan. I never read the comics, but I kind of want to see it just for that reason. I want to support, you know, a comic book movie that was really.
In response to that, I heard that the next Wolverine movie is going to be rated R.
Yeah, well, not for sure, but James Mangold. Yeah, because James Mangold.
They're getting whatever.
James Mangold, who made the last Wolverine movie, and he's a great director. He's made some really good stuff, and he wanted the last one to be R. And you know, of course, the studio fought tooth and nail against that, and it never happened. And now it's, you know, now it's okay. Now they kind of Deadpool's given comic movies permission, so maybe we'll see that great Punisher movie. Like, that would be really cool.
All right, so next question from Brian Switzer. I'm a month away from publishing, and I'll have books 1 and 2 of a 4-book series plus a lead-in novella. See, this is the sort of thing where you can tell Dave wanted to get rid of his camera, but he just got up and left, and we're going to get to see all the behind the scenes. I'm a month away from publishing. I'll have books 1 and 2 of a 4-book series plus a lead-in novella and no list. In the beginning, should I be on Amazon Unlimited or go wide? Okay, so here's the part where I sell my children to Satan. I think at this point the answer is you go unlimited. I hate that. I really do. But I think that in the current environment, and this is as of February 2016, I think the smart choice is to just go unlimited. If you're new, you don't have a list, you're going to get more exposure that way, and then go wide when you have more of a base.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And I hate that that's the answer.
Right. That was just exactly what I was going to say. I hate that that's the answer too, but it is. And you just kind of got to deal. Tom Donahue asks, are there any plans to revive the Nuts and Bolts series anytime soon or at all? I think very loosely, yes. I think Garrett would love to do it. We got a lot of equipment for him to do it, and he was into doing it. But it's just kind of low on the list right now. He's, you know, doing a really great job of kind of getting Legendary going and writing books there. And there's a lot of other catch-up work that's really important that's behind that. And Nuts and Bolts, there's just so many of them to do if we're going to be, you know, continuing that as a series. And there's no reason to do them other than it's awesome to do them. But that's kind of gets really hard to justify after a point. So yes, I think he would like to do it. And yes, there is a very loose plan for him to do it. But I seriously have no idea when that would happen.
All right, Moonwind Music. Hi, guys. What laptops do you use for writing? What makes a great writing laptop? I'm currently in the market for a decent writing laptop that might also double as a gaming laptop. So my answer to that is has several caveats and dimensions to it. One is I don't differentiate between a writing laptop and a writing computer. My laptop is my computer. I know that I'm not sure what I think Dave may have a solution that's desktop based, but I know that Sean has both. Like, you have a desktop and you have a laptop, you have an Air, but I just have a PowerBook, and that's it. That's my computer, and I plug an external monitor and keyboard into it. However, if I were using a laptop directly without the external monitor and computer, I would not, ergonomically speaking, type on that little keyboard for long. If I'm going to write on it, and it's going to be something I do a lot, I'm going to want something that's an ergonomic full-size keyboard that's not going to fuck up my wrists. But that's what I use as a Mac PowerBook. Dave, you're muted.
Yeah, I have both a desktop, which I do a lot of stuff on, and then I have a MacBook Air, and they're pretty much synced. So, like, you know, if I'm even reading something on Safari on one computer, I can finish reading it on the other computer. It's pretty seamless as far as my mail and Slack and all of that. The problem is that my Air does not have a big hard drive, and so my Dropbox folders aren't all synced. So I have to move everything to an inbox, and that's kind of annoying, especially, you know, for example, Johnny will try to.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he'll try to get into a folder, but I had to move it into inbox because I was working on it over the weekend. And so that's kind of annoying. And I'm really looking forward to new MacBooks probably in June, so I can get one with a big fat hard drive.
Are you going to get an Air again, or are you going to get a PowerBook?
Well, they're probably, I mean, who knows because it's Apple, but they're probably discontinuing the Air line, and the regular MacBooks are just super, super slim right now. And the rumor is there will be a 15-inch regular MacBook that's super slim, and that's exactly what I want. That would be perfect for me. But I just got to wait.
Did they ask for about gaming as well?
Yes.
So it might double as a gaming laptop.
Oh, then probably not the Mac. I would say I've read that the Surface Book Pro 3 and 4 can handle games, on like medium settings. Depending on the game, you might want to look at that, like look for benchmarks and stuff. But probably not a Mac for gaming.
Carrie McQuaid asks, my question is about giving and
Hey, Carrie.
feedback. Yeah, we met Carrie in person. Great. When you first started working together, how did you edit and critique in a way that preserved friendship but improved
Oh, we're
skills?
not friends.
What?
What?
Did you have rules, or did you have to work on it?
I have a long list of rules where
Much like the rules for meeting, Dave.
yes, you cannot look at me for long periods of time. That's why Johnny's always looking away. He doesn't stare too long.
For me, the rule is just candor. Like, be direct, be honest, because I don't think. I mean, we all want to improve. We all want to. Oh my God,
Let's
we all
break
want
that like button.
We want to improve. We want to get better. I think that. I mean, we all have natural ego as artists, but we don't bring ego into our relationships. And so, I think candor is super, super important for sure. I always want the guys to be honest with me. I always try to be honest with them. And I think that, naturally we grow from project to project.
We have to disable that functionality.
Yeah, when we do the show, we'll have to do it, or we don't do it at all. Just everybody else can. Then we can see.
Yeah, I mean, Sean is the common denominator here, so it's me and Sean and Dave. And Sean is he's neutral in a partner relationship. He's like the vanilla that you can mix other shit into, right? He's non-offensive to us. So basically, I think that I gather that when Sean and I don't actually have significant story disagreements, but I would guess that the CI side, you guys occasionally do have disagreements where this guy should die usually is probably the disagreement.
I'll pitch something and Dave will hate it, and then we'll come up with another idea that kind of branches off. So it works.
But then you just bend over and spread your cheeks, right? I mean, basically, right? Like,
oh, no,
you just defer.
For him. But it's part of the process, and but it's never adversarial at all, which I think is the real question. It's part of the process, breaking down the story and seeing what works and what doesn't. But we've never had an argument about story direction at all. Like, it's just the process is really malleable, I'd say.
Since it's phrased in terms of feedback, I think that I don't know that I would say that it ever gets to the feedback stage the way that I interpret feedback. Like, feedback to me is, here's this thing, what do you think of it? And it's more an ongoing collaboration than that. So it's almost like we're feeding back along the way rather than all at once. And I know that there are times when I think we've mutually realized feedback. So right now I'm in the middle of a lot of fun editing the Ruby Room. Now, the Ruby Room is the third book in the Dream Engine series, and it was written over a year ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and in Sterling and Stone World, that's the equivalent of having been written 6 decades ago. And
it was written in the 60s, essentially.
Right, exactly. So and so it's the sort of thing where I'm wanting to give myself feedback. I'm like, oh my God, are you over-explaining this? Do you just not trust the readers? And I don't know if it was just at this particular project that there was a lot of throat clearing and exposition in it, or if we've just gotten that much further along that this now
this
seems
project we were writing this live in a a 45, 50-day stretch with the 2 books back to back, and we hadn't even caught our breath from Nightmare Factory. So
Right.
that was a natural part of the process. And then we went through it, and then it sat for a year. So we're also cold on it. So it's a hard edit for sure.
Right. But that's the sort of thing where I would be giving myself feedback. I would be like, okay, I know what I do and don't need to do. And we notice things as we go. Again, I don't know what the CI side is like, but we learn from each project that then applies to the next project, even though it's not necessarily in the same genre. Now, as far as like actual mechanics and stuff, I know that there are things that both of us have done. Like what was I could never get blonde right. Like I could never figure out if blonde had an E or not. And finally Sean was like, okay, this is the rule for blonde. This is how you do it. And then Sean wasn't great with semicolons. And so that was something that I fed back to him. But these are always just like,
right.
And that's
in
what
the
I did.
in the early days of CI, I would take too long to say something. And also a lot of unnecessary tangents too, like,
oh God.
Right.
And there are things that I don't know. Like Sean said, just so you know, this is, we say that people are shaking their head a lot. That's something that I write. Somebody shakes their head. And so now I'm very aware of that. There are things that Dave has given to us, reading things that are initially I've been like asshole. And then I'm like, and then it gets in my head and I'm like, oh, you know what? That isn't that good that way. I guess I should change that. So that's,
You
Dave
forget the thing. I am always right.
Dave
right.
is
I mean,
right.
I should just admit at this point, but it's never been adversarial, and I wouldn't say there are rules. It's just sort of occurred slowly.
Yeah, because I think we're all invested in each other anyway, and if we're giving each other feedback, it's it's all in the service of how do we tell better stories together.
All right, so I'm trying to find the next questions here because you don't. There's no scroll bar or anything, which would be nice.
Doesn't your mouse scroll like?
No, there's no. There's. I don't have a scroll bar, a scroll thing in my mouse.
Oh, you don't have the glass thing? It just scrolls. It's super easy. No.
No, I have a trackball.
Oh.
Damn Hell 5000, best fucking name ever. The smarter, other than Mauricio Wolf, the Smarter Artist event looks like it's going to have a lot of great speakers. Will it be organized in breakout sessions?
Not specifically in breakout sessions. We haven't decided how to handle some of that. So the way that the space is, and by the way, if you're listening live and you haven't made up your mind yet on the Smarter Artist Summit, probably make up your mind pretty soon because the hotel block has a cutoff. So if you want to have a place to stay, book your ticket and you get the autoresponder with
You're
the hotel
not
information.
staying with
Book
me.
your hotel. Right, exactly. So like you should really kind of get off the
Dave
pot
is
at
like,
this point.
the Pistons or someone. He has an entire floor to himself. He just no one is allowed there.
I'm checking
It's
in under
4:30.
an assumed name.
Right.
Well,
right.
we may have
4
extra
bucks.
hotel rooms that we have in our block that we may be committed to, and so we're just going to reserve them all and just like put our luggage in there and
We're
connect
just gonna
them
go in
have
and
a
take
big
all the
city.
soap and shampoo and toilet paper each day and
Right.
close the door.
Right, if we're paying for them anyway. So the but it's. I mean, it's really. I think it's going to be really, really cool. We've heard a lot of people like the Facebook group has been really active, and the speakers have been,
Yeah, the
I'll throw
Facebook
this
group
into the
is
swag
awesome.
bag and stuff. And so I think it's going to be really, really cool to meet people. I'm hearing like, oh, this is somebody we've interacted with, and I'm looking forward to talking to them in person. And people like, I think Dan's coming. Dan's a speaker, Dan Wood from Drafted Digital. So we just have a lot of people like that will just be around. I think Dan's coming. And but anyway, so just to answer the question as far as format, the space is like this one main area, and then there's kind of a separate like little loft area. But I think that it would be distracting because it's kind of a one-track conference. So if you're up there in a breakout session, like if one of the speakers was done and moved upstairs, then you'd be missing something on the floor. It's not acoustically isolated, so there would be cross. You know what I mean? Like you'd hear each other. So my guess is probably not with breakout sessions, but it's not a huge event. It'll be a big event. It'll be the biggest thing we've done.
But it's really intimate. It's an intimate.
It'll be
space.
intimate.
Yeah. I mean, at any given time, you'll be, I don't know, 100 feet from the speakers. Like it's really close. Like it's a small space.
Right. And the speakers will be throwing beads for anybody who flashes them. That's the way it works. Only Dave, though.
I'm flattered.
All right.
I'm looking for the question. We had a question earlier in Slack. I can't find it though.
And then I have something in email.
Yeah, we have a couple from email too. Well, Damn Hell 5000 also would like to get the props in even numbers. It's an OCD thing. Twitch.
Yeah. There actually aren't a lot of live questions, and I just wonder if it's people trying to figure out Blab. We do have there was something in Slack, and let me see if I can find that one in email that Amy sent over earlier. I think there were two actually.
Solitary Mindset says, "Have you guys shared the name of your new cover designer yet? I promised not to book up their schedule completely." No, we're not ever sharing that name.
That and Dave's phone company will never be known.
Dave's so cold-hearted.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a matter of supply and demand, and we have a lot of demand, and we don't want more supply taking up.
Yeah, and our designer also has plenty of supply, so there is no no shortage there.
Yeah, if they were in need of work, then I wouldn't be quite so self-interested. But we've had situations in the past where we've relied on people for services, and other people found out we were using them, and then they would use them, and then our services, would suddenly be behind like a whole bunch of other people.
Suddenly, you got to wait 6 months to get on there.
Yeah, already there's a 3-month waiting list already. So
we're writing too much, and we can't afford a kink in the chain.
Okay, I've got those questions, Johnny.
Okay.
I published, so these are all from Michael Campbell, which is a pseudonym. And he also would like to say that he knows a woman who would be perfect for Mauricio, which is just an aside. I published 7 episodes, season 1 of a serial direct to Kindle. Because I was caught up with work, moving, the holidays, and platform building, I decided to buy myself a little time and put them all in select until I ID'd all the typos that survive professional and amateur copy editing. At 300,000 words, a 0.01% error rate is still enough to ruin credibility. In April, I'll do what I have to follow the perma-free first episode model. It's not too late. I could pull episodes 1 through 7 off KDP since I haven't used any of the promo days. Question 1. Is there a strategy that makes sense?
I don't think that's actually true. I think once you're in, right? It doesn't matter whether you've used the promo days.
That's correct. Yeah. And you'll have to wait.
You're kind of stuck. Unless if it's your first time in, you can probably email support and tell them and they may give you kind of a one-time pass, but you don't just go putting it up everywhere. That's not the way it works.
So what's the question?
Is there a strategy that makes sense for capitalizing on the 5 free days for each episode? Perhaps staggering them to coincide with a typical reader's journey through the series, or just do them all at the same time? The first is 99 cents, subsequent $2.99. If episode 4 alone, say, was in free promo days, I'm worried people would download it and be confused or mad because it would make little sense if they hadn't read episodes 1 through 3, which they would then have to purchase.
Free used to work. Go ahead.
Well, there's a couple things here. If it's 300,000 words and there are 7 episodes, then that's pretty long. Like, you could get away with $2.99. It's a little awkward for sure. And that will add up. That's all of a sudden a $21 book. There isn't a good answer here, because if you put them all out at once, let's say you put it all out at once, and you've got 5 days there, that's going to go really, really fast. And you're not going to get a lot of bang for the buck. There's no mechanism for free like there used to be. It's, Amazon kind of buries those free results. So I could easily see all of especially if you're not a known commodity, you don't have a list, you don't have any way to drive traffic to that promotion, and you don't have ads lined up or anything, then those 5 days could go really, really quickly. And you're not going to, the free downloads don't have a lot of weight. So you're not going to see a lot of carryover once they're not free anymore. They're just going to kind of drop off the lists. And those people already were able to download everything free in a very short period of time because it was all available. But again, you do have a big problem, because if they get episode 4 free, then they are going to be pissed off having to get episodes 1 through 3 at $2.99 each. So guys.
Yeah. Free used to work differently than it did, and I don't want to beat this to death because I know we've talked about this a lot. And basically, it used to be you could use free to jumpstart visibility of of anything, like post. So you'd make it free, and then it would either sell afterward or at least be visible afterward. That's just not the case anymore. So that advantage of free, at least on Amazon, is kind of shit. So the real reason you would want to use free is to jumpstart sales probably further down the funnel. So for that reason, with an episodic model, I kind of think there's really, really limited value of making individual episodes free past the first one. Like the first one, great, gets people in the funnel. But if you make episodes 3 free, I just don't like, unless you wanted to very deliberately make sure that the people on your list always got each one free just because you were being cool to them, not because of visibility, just because you wanted them to get it free or to get reviews, then I could see doing
reviews is a good reason for sure.
Doing it for that reason. Yeah. But by the same token, you could also just give out review copies to people who will review. There's a lot of hoarders with free. Yeah. So
you're also training them that your stuff is worth free, if it's every episode.
You could also, put all 7 in one book and make that free at the end of the run. And I don't know how that'll work with, you don't get paid for a free download for page reads, do you? I don't think
No, I would want to use free as part of a very specific strategy.
I would use free. I also think season 2 out is really the way to do it. Because I think Dave's idea about putting them all in an omnibus is a great idea, but then you need on the last page to go here to get the next book. But then again, if it's 300,000 words, that's a lot of reading. That's a lot of reading that you have somebody doing before they hit the next CTA. 300,000 words is, what is that in pages? That's like a good,
a fuck ton.
Yeah.
300,000. Yeah. I don't know how many pages it is, but if you, I would want to use free now for,
I think that's over 1,000 pages
as a lead to something else. Like if you wanted to, so for instance, if we were to do a free book promotion or something for, Robo Proletariat season 1, that makes sense because it would upsell to 2, and if there were pre-order for 3. If we were to do a free promotion on Axis of Aaron, which is a standalone, number one, I probably wouldn't do it just because a lot of the people who are the wrong people for it would get it.
Yeah, we'd get bad reviews on Axis of Aaron if we did a free promotion.
Right. There's no real advantage. There's no like kickstart that occurs afterwards where that suddenly sells better after it's been free. It just doesn't occur that way anymore. So the only reason I would do it is if we thought we could use free there to leverage something else. Like if like when Devil May Care came out and we knew that there was a like rabid audience for that sort of book because Devil May Care and Axis of Aaron are kind of similar, then I would say if you could make it free and make sure that list knew about it, and then there was like a list ad or something so that we could announce Devil to them, then that would be the way I would leverage it. But without a leverage point where you'd say, I'm going to use the free run to get this, I don't think I would bother with anything but a funnel starter personally.
Yeah, I agree. Second question is titling has become a problem. The serial has a name, The Family Trust, and these are season 1, episodes 1 through 7. Subtitling the episode number makes sense, I guess, but if you put the title in the series field, it doubles it, making it hard to distinguish between the books on Amazon's mobile site and looks sloppy. Oh, and it insists on calling each a book, not episode. Any hacks for that? Should I skip that field since this is a serial and not a series?
I would just put them in the title, and I would. Well, you can say that something's part of a series and not give a number. So if you had Family Trust and you just put you check the box that says it's part of a series and you put in Family Trust, but you don't put a volume number, then it should just say the Family Trust. It should just indicate that it's part of that and file it as such, and then I would just put whatever designation you wanted in the title. I mean, but I don't know. We're leaning away from that episodic model as far as releases anyway, so hard to say.
Yeah, the only difference here is that this is 300,000 words. So these episodes are longer. So they're more like Cursed or Unicorn Western or even really Karma Police. Like they're longer, so they are kind of standalone-ish, but I mean not standalone because I think they probably are dependent on reading the next ones. It's an odd model for sure. Like the Beam episodes are like 25, 30,000 words, 30,000 words, which, you could charge $2.99 for those based on word count alone. But then again, why? Because all of a sudden then you've got an $18 book, and that'll piss people off if they have to buy them that way. I think that your pricing is fine if you have the omnibus available too.
And it's cheaper.
Yeah, I think this is throwing me off because the only experience you're allowing people to have is with buying them individually, which is kind of an expensive way to consume your story. So,
and I like the idea of once something is available in an omnibus, taking away the alternative. I kind of like that. I know that our friend Julie Haas does that. She had her first 3 books were the Tragic, Manic, and Panic, I think. And then she did the Rook and Ronan omnibus, and you can't get the singles anymore. You just can't. Just the omnibus. And I mean, I think it's less of a problem when you're brand new, but when you're like us and you have a bunch of books, if we
it
have
really clutters
suddenly,
your pages.
yeah,
too.
see, Beam season 1, Beam season 2, and then 12 episodes as well for those 2 seasons. It's like, and they all have the same art, and it's just like, wow, I just don't know what to think here as a reader.
Yeah, it can be off-putting.
Amy says, come on, guys. She didn't even mention the smarterartistsummit.com URL.
Did I not? Smarterartistsummit.com. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't do that. Usually I do. I'm such a whore. So
and
can you go back?
She also said, I failed to see why the privilege of meeting me is not one of the benefits of coming to the summit. Yes, you can meet Amy. And for those of you without hotels, she'll probably let you stay with her because she's such a nice person.
And if you really want to meet her, if that's because that is a perk, then I think that...
Yes, but she really likes... She likes it. If you play drums, she's into that. You can, you don't even need drums, just drumsticks. You could bang on stuff in her room all night. She's into that.
Right.
All right. Another question from email. Hey guys, I finished a novel, 99,000 words, digital and print or just digital edition. Is that a question? I don't know if that's
I think that's a separate question. Let me answer that really quick. It depends on you. We like the idea of print. We actually do paperback and hardback just because we want a complete catalog. But it's very much a 20% thing. For most novels, you will not sell anywhere near as many paperbacks, and forget about hardbacks. And so if you can do it, and CreateSpace is free, so if you can do the formatting yourself and not pay for it, then kind of why not, as long as it's not robbing you of a ton of writing time. But you will get most of your
great
sales
for looking professional. Like it's not just
about nice to have on your shelf too.
It's nice to have on your shelf. Your page will look more professional, and it's a nice price anchoring. If you've got let's say you want to charge $4.99 for your book, which compared to other indies might seem a little high. A lot of indies price pretty low. You want to charge $4.99 or $5.99 for your 100,000 word book, and you put it out in print, and your print is $12.99. Then your digital edition looks legit because it has a paperback counterpart, but also because it's half the price.
There you go. All right. So, do we have more on?
Live one.
Well, there's the second part to this person's question.
Oh, right.
Do you have recommendations for structural and line editors? I was quoted $4,500 to edit the manuscript. That seems high. Okay, so. It depends. If you're talking about structural, that is a different kind of edit. And we don't actually get those kinds of edits. So I know those edits.
That's perfect.
Would that be the same as a developmental edit?
Yeah, it is. It's really somebody who's kind of taking your story apart and telling you how to make it better. And it's more for readability. And that's a much, much harder edit. That's somebody who's taking the time to understand your characters and understand your stories. They're spending a lot of time with your book. And so that is pretty much the cream of the crop edit. So yes, that's going to cost a bit high. It depends on the state of your manuscript too. How much time is it going to require from the editor? All things being equal, that doesn't seem... It doesn't seem high in the way that there are some editors that charge that much, but it's not competitive. You could definitely, go to Odesk or, one of those marketplaces and find another editor. You could also go, I know that that CreateSpace, is it CreateSpace? They have editing too.
Yeah, they have
the right company. Yeah, and they have it all. the different kinds. You can
They did a
pick
Cracker Jack
developmental.
job on
Well,
Z.
Right. That's
I was
what I was
going
just
to
saying.
say. Like,
Right. So they're actually the same editors that Amazon uses for their stuff, but I think, we got our Z books and they actually have pretty weak edits, and their prices aren't cheap. I think they're like $2,500 for developmental. So you definitely can shop around. You can go to online marketplaces like Updesk is the new one that's the actual name of a desk.
Pornhub.
I forget
actual name of a desk.
Yeah, you could go to
Desk or
Desk.
Elance changed their name to something, and I don't remember.
Next Desk. That's what we want.
No, if you go to elance.com, it'll forward to the new company, whatever it is. But that's a good place to. I mean, you can just check on, look at people's work histories, how many clients this editor has worked for, what their star rating is, and you can find a reasonably priced editor with 5 stars and do it that way.
Ask other writers what editors they're using, and writers usually won't give the price they're paying because editors, sometimes they'll price people differently depending on the job. So you might not get a price out of somebody, but you might get a good suggestion and maybe a ballpark figure.
Price differently depending on gender, race, sexual orientation.
Yes.
Agreed.
I'm frequently charged more because of my beastly size, and I find it offensive.
So, did you answer the 4,500? Did that seem reasonable?
Well, it's hard to say without seeing the manuscript. That seems a little high to me, especially for a first book. Because honestly, it's going to be kind of hard to ROI on that if you're just getting started on this. And I think when you're first starting out, you kind of need to be more careful than that. But yeah.
So I'm just looking at the Blab map here, and I'm wondering if the bright dots are supposed to be the hosts, and if so, we have one in Austin, Texas. That looks about right. But then either Dave or I are in Seattle and the UK. So
that would be me in the UK. I don't actually live in Florida. I've been lying all this time. Or it's my proxies routing through the UK.
Right. So that's not, I think, entirely accurate if that's what it is. All right. So what else we got? Was that it on the email questions? I think it was.
Yeah, I like this one. Have you guys ever broke the fourth wall with a story? Perhaps you could take a company in the story that is fiction and create a website for them. Think InGen from Jurassic Park.
I don't think we have. Deadpool did it.
I feel
like
with Sterling Gibson a little bit. It feels like we may have done that.
Yeah, Sterling Gibson. That's a good example. So Sterling, for the Beam world, there's a character named Sterling Gibson in season 2 of the Beam who is a Malcolm Gladwell type writer in the year 2097, and we had him write a book called Plugged: How Hyperconnectivity and the Beam Changed the Way We Think. And we wrote that book. It's kind of a Malcolm Gladwell style book, and we call it Beam Season 1.5. And we wrote it to explain the world to ourselves so we could do a better job writing season 2. But that book is available. You can buy it.
Wait. We did in the short story. If you don't finish reading this, everyone you know will die, or something to that effect.
You killed everybody that the readers knew. Is that the way?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Everyone. I love it.
Is there a punchline to that? I didn't think that's what you actually did.
No, I think we did address the reader in that story, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we do. And I think that building websites and stuff, like Dave and I have actually talked about doing this a lot of times. I think it's something we would love to do. It's actually pretty cool. The problem is it is very 20%. So, not that many of your readers are going to dig it. They're not even going to know that you did it. And, is it worth taking time away from writing and creating something else? Probably not. But, if it makes you happy, then sure. If it, enriches your characters in your world, then sure. I know we've talked about doing this kind of stuff a lot more than we've actually done this kind of stuff.
Too busy writing. So Pen AIM 2016. When you were starting out, did you ever feel like no one got your writing? Well, I think that there's a fine line to be drawn here. I think that there's a case where your writing isn't selling as much as you want. But that's different from not feeling like anybody gets it. And I'm going to go a little bit out on a limb here. So at the risk of of insulting anyone who's felt this way. And if you feel this way, I'm not saying this is true, but a lot of people who say people don't get my writing are just kind of being pretentious assholes. Like that just kind of is the case a lot of the time. Not all the time, but sometimes it's like, well, there is this conception of like what is good writing, and you might be this like excellent writer that nobody gets. That could happen, but it could also be true that you just kind of aren't maybe as awesome as you think. I don't remember distinctly thinking that, but I think that
somebody take away Johnny's high fives.
Take away my high fives. No, but I guess what I mean is, it's that can definitely happen, but it's usually a case of not feeling like you found your audience rather than people didn't get your writing. Does that make any sense? It's not necessarily that like you have.
I think that's well said. Actually, it's that you haven't found your audience.
I'll share a little story here. When I was writing,
gather up, Uncle Davey's got a story.
Come sit on my lap. That didn't sound.
Beware of the grandma muff.
when I was younger, like I was writing in school, and I would pass my stories around. A lot of people liked it, but when I got a little bit older and I was out of school, I would write stuff, and I didn't show many people, but I showed a few people, and some of them liked it, some of them didn't get it, or they didn't like it, or they would humor me. And I could always
happen when you showed them your wiener.
Yes, always. They didn't understand how something could be so big and yet fit in my pants. So it could have been that they just didn't read a whole lot, and I was a friend writing a story, and whatever, they're just going to say whatever. Or it could be that I was really bad at the time, or a combination of both. I think you really get a feel for how good your writing is when you go out into the world and publish your first book and hear actual reader feedback. If you're nervous at all, or if you think that your book isn't that good, I would write your first book with a pen name. Just in case it is a complete disaster, then you're not known for that disaster, and you can like learn and then apply the lessons to the next book. That's just my thought on it.
Anyone else feel like Dave is talking into Don King?
I gotta get rid of this thing.
It's pretty spectacular. Now, I do have a question about this. How did you? I mean, for a second, did you? You didn't actually think you weren't going to get made fun of, right? When you were putting that on your mic, like
I didn't realize it would be all that. Maybe if I talk lower, I didn't realize it'd be all that visible. My other thing was
giant grandma mug. It wasn't.
It's called a
cloak.
I just like to point out Dave's the guy who bought a Bubba stick to walk with, thinking that might not be odd.
This is a raccoon that I killed and skinned. No, I needed my foam cover for the microphone was breaking. And here's the funny thing. I actually bought it not with the intention of using it on this, on my recorder when I go out.
Oh, I don't want to know.
Yeah. Right. I was going to preempt you on that. So imagine Dave walking around his neighborhood with his speaking into that thing like he's got a raccoon's rectum. What did that guy do to that cat? Why is he talking to it so intimately?
Yeah, I started to walk out of the house with it, and I just looked at it. I said, "There's no fucking way I'm going out with this," and I put it off.
Imagine Dave's walking around; all these cats are following him. All right, so
some old guy. Oh, that looks like Gertrude.
If Dave
stuck on this whole muff thing,
if Dave decided he didn't want to work with Sean anymore, would it ruin you guys? Since he is everyone's favorite. Yes. The answer is yes. Amy has been doing the Smarter is the self-publishing podcast Facebook account, and she posted photos of there's some from the summit, like some of me and Sean, and then she posted a shot of Dave with his head down doing something just once, and like immediately was like high five. It was a shot of David right in the wild, and
they're so rare.
And yeah, exactly. So Sean and I we usually see that Sean and I are, we're maybe around here, and then Dave is way up here as far as the likability factor.
And that is the opposite in real life, by the way. Like if you're with us in person, these guys are the people talk to them and they're sociable. Everybody loves Sean. As long as I've known him, everybody just fucking loves him. And I'm the guy that pretty much everybody's like avoiding. So it's inverse reality on the show, I think. But in all honesty, to that question, I don't think that the success that Sean and Johnny have in fiction has absolutely nothing to do, or very little to do, I think, with our podcast. They found a fiction audience, which has no relation to me whatsoever. Would SPP be the same without me? Oh God, no. Of course not. These guys would go like a 5-hour show. So
the worst show ever would not exist.
No, the worst show ever would
that's
not exist.
true.
I don't quite understand this question, you guys. You have a current government. Would you like to have a choice to pick something else?
What?
It's wealth and health. That's verbatim.
I think that's Dave's dad.
You have a current government. Would you like to have the choice to pick something else? Is that a serious question? Like, are we happy being Americans? Is that the question?
I don't know. That almost feels like that's
Is that a survey?
a prompt comment. Right? I'd also like to say that author
vote Trump. Let's change this government.
I would like to have the choice to pick something else, I guess. Is that
I would like a choice of country.
I like choices, but I'm sorry if I'm missing that question.
Author Abilene pops in this comment. Amy is hot.
What?
That's good. All right. So you did the fourth wall one. I'm just trying to click through because we're down to our last 15 minutes. See any other questions? There's a lot of just chatter that isn't questions.
Chrissy wants to know why Dave has a fuzzy rat in front of his face. And then M. John says it's a beard wig. And then Chrissy says he needs a beard wig.
Beard wig.
Or maybe the rat is so big. Okay, wait. I got to read this whole thing. So then Chrissy says, although, is it just me or does Dave look a bit thinner? Then Maya says, not just you, he looks good. And then John says, I agree with you, though I do need new glasses. Hey. And then Chrissy says, LOL. And then Maya says, or maybe the rat is so big it makes his face look smaller.
That's why I got it.
All right.
Will you guys be bringing new authors on board in the future? I assume you mean into Sterling and Stone. This is something that we've talked about a few times publicly and privately, and not in the near future. I think that we like the idea of sort of the James Patterson model somewhere down the road, where we have an imprint where we do story development with other writers and kind of co-author something where we aren't really doing the in the weeds stuff that the draft is done by somebody else, but we help story build and developmental guide it. But that's not soon. That's
right. We really have to be in play before we can do that. But I do think it's something we are very interested in looking forward. Just kind of architecting sounds really fun. Like, we all love story so much, and we live it and we breathe it, and that would be fun. But we just have so much that we're trying to do right now, and that feels like it would be a distraction and a disservice to the other stuff we're trying to build. But long term, yeah. In The Walking Dave, oh crap. Oh, there we go. In The Walking Dave, when Dave says he needed a hot chocolate before bed in warm up in Florida, I was driving to Michigan where it was.
You already read that one. That's he actually popped back in and said, "Did I miss where Dave was bitching? Were you guys?"
All right. Well, yeah.
I really like Christy's question though. Just a few down from that. If you have had good feedback from people you respect that you're a good writer and get great reviews, and you still aren't doing well with sales, what might you suggest? Just write more books and keep trying, because that's what I'm trying. Christy, to me, that sounds like a one of two things: either a book to market sweet spot fit problem, or positioning problem. So in the first, it might be like the Beam. So Sean and I love the Beam, and
that's a good example.
It does reasonably well. Like it does do well, but it doesn't do nearly as well as Invasion. And the reason is, I think, because the Beam is sort of cerebral, high concept science fiction, and Invasion is just very commercial,
Popcorn.
consumable fiction. It's popcorn fiction, right? Exactly. Like it's, and we've said this a few times. I think that if the Beam is a 5-star book, which I mean, I really love the Beam, but I'm kind of biased, then Invasion is a 4-star book. Like we love the Invasion series, but it is just plain not as good, not in our estimation. But it sells better because it's popcorny, like it's very consumable. So that's one possibility. The other could just be position. So if we had Invasion, sticking with that example, but it were called The Aliens Cometh, and the cover was totally different and just had, like, I don't know, a car with an alien hitchhiking. I don't know. I'm just making this up. and like the keywords were all wrong. So it wasn't positioned right, but it was exactly the same book, but it didn't have that sweet spot feel. Then that would do the exact same thing. So I don't think it's a matter of, like, writing is not a meritocracy, unfortunately. You can't just have good books and be a good writer and get good reviews, because the reviewers might be the people you already have. It's more about how do you appeal to the people outside in an immediate shorthand way. That would be my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I just think it's a sheer numbers thing. I think there's more people that want to read like the popcorn thing than want a more philosophical sort of book. It's just sheer numbers. Damn Hell 5000 asks, how's No Sugar Month Sean, No Snack Month Dave, and Weekly Ice Cream Run Month Johnny going?
I love No Sugar Month. I'm actually having a really, really great month. I think it's been a while since I've felt this healthy before starting. I'm not really detoxing. Normally I'm detoxing, and I really need it. Not so much this time, but I feel really, really strong. And I actually didn't expect to lose any weight. And I think I am. I don't know. I haven't weighed myself in a while, but I think I'm shedding pounds too. And I don't have any cravings at all. Like normally I'm craving, and I had a hard weekend because Cindy made cinnamon rolls. It was Valentine's Day. And so the children didn't, they're not on No Sugar Month. So they got, there's chocolate in the house, and there was a chocolate covered caramel apple. Don't tell Dave. And, and I came back from,
I'd eat a chocolate apple. I think those were caramel.
Oh no, this was chocolate and covered in nuts, and it was gourmet and it looked delicious. And there were chocolate covered strawberries, and I came back from a walk and I opened the door, and the smell of fresh cinnamon rolls just punched me in the face. And I'm like, okay, now it's hard. This is rough. Like I really, really wanted it. And I wanted pasta for dinner just because I did. But really Valentine's Day was the only hard day. Since then it's been great. And it was great before then. So yay.
My first few days were tough as hell, and I was very on edge and angry at everybody. And I know that's very unlike my usual self.
It's a change.
So in other words, it was a day ending and why.
Yeah. It got easier. Valentine's Day was really difficult because I had to open my son's chocolate box for him because he couldn't get the wrapper off. And the minute I opened it, like the chocolate just came to me. It was just like, and I was going to cheat on Valentine's. I was going to allow myself one day. And then I made the mistake of talking to Sean. And I asked him, I said, do you ever do a cheat day on Valentine's? He's like, why the hell would you do that? And he didn't know I was asking for me, but he was just going off on this whole tangent about how stupid an idea that was. And I felt like, okay, I won't do it.
Yeah, I may have heard that story.
So,
okay. All right. The point is because it's so hard to detox. Like if the first 3 days are rough getting the sugar out of your system, and then you make it like barely 2 weeks, and then you put it back in, then you're just inviting the pain back.
I will say that after that though, the next day, I believe was Monday, and that was this week, and I felt better. I felt better with it behind me, like that temptation wasn't over me. And I think Monday and Tuesday, and part of Wednesday were the best days I've had in a long time, like where I was feeling really good. And I was exercising a lot, and just having a good week so far, the best of this month anyway.
I'm enjoying the weekly family ice cream runs that we've instituted on Mondays, but the month itself kind of sucks gigantic balls. And that's basically just because moving sucks. And it's just I'm just waiting. Like, can I please put in an application on an apartment in Austin? Can I please, or not an apartment, but a house for rent? Can I please do that? But no, not until, because then you got to pay first month's rent and last month's rent. We got to pay furniture when we get down there. So it sucks. I hate it, but whatever. That has nothing to do with food. And my willpower in general has kind of taken a big old shit. Like I have no willpower left anymore. I'm just like, fuck it, all the time. Fuck it. So we'll see. But I am getting my steps in, and as soon as Dave and I are Fitbit buddies, we're gonna establish that.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be Fitbit buddies. That's awesome.
I don't know if I want to be Fitbit buddies with Johnny because I'm going to see all these steps he's taking. I'm going to feel inferior. I'm going to feel like the guy with the tiny penis at like a porn convention.
Well, but I thought about because when you got the Fitbit, I thought of this, and then I specifically said no, I'm not going to ask because what I didn't want to do was demoralize you. And then I heard on The Walking Dave, you're like, oh, well, Johnny and I are going to be Fitbit buddies, and I was like,
that is why I got that.
He wants to.
We could do it. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to leave that
instead of some other thing.
I'm going to leave that to you, Dave. This is on your plate.
Well, I got to take it out of the box.
Do it or not? Okay, take it out of the box. There you go. Take it out of the box. Charge it. If you make it that far, we'll talk.
I didn't get my steps yesterday, and I was kind of bummed about it this morning because I didn't realize, and I had like almost a 30-day streak, or I got my steps every day, and then yesterday I didn't realize until this morning, and I saw that yesterday I had 89%, and I'm like, fuck. And like it really matters. I've been very good. I'm way over most days, but I didn't get it yesterday and I was bummed.
Yeah, it does it to me too. All right. So we actually have another serious question now. Down to the final 5 minutes, I would say here. So Zether90 says,
okay.
Is that the one you were going to do?
Yeah, I thought you were asking. I didn't hear. Okay, go ahead, read it.
Oh, no. Okay. So question is, if you write multiple genres, would it be smart to have multiple pen names under one main name / publisher? Example, Zether as an acronym with pen names for each letter representing one genre each, but all would be on the same author page / social media. The pens would just serve to give enough separation so that the ideal reader reads it rather than a fan of different book from an author that is completely different. Okay, so that actually sounds pretty convoluted, but I think I understand the question. So the example I usually...
He has a follow-up.
Oh, okay. Does the follow-up, do we need to read that before we answer this one?
One of the reasons I asked is because I sold a ton under my real name, but switched to a pen. Got fan base from that, and now I want to appeal to both. So merge them, I guess.
The example I usually use this internally, Sean and I, this has run across a few times when we've considered splitting stuff up, is so Bella Andre is a hugely successful romance author. Bella Andre also writes, I believe, several pen names, but the one I know is Lucy Kevin, which is like the sweet romances. And so the covers will say Bella Andre writing as Lucy Kevin. Like it's right there on the cover. Everybody knows who it is. But the artificial separation allows Bella to, to classify like these are this kind of romance. And that's actually subgenres. But I could see you doing something like that. But you would have to ask if it's going to be tricky to manage, like, are they going to be discrete where it's just a filing convention, like I was just describing, where everybody knows, but it's just for separating, or whether it's a sort of thing where you actually have to manage all these different pen names and have separate lists for all these pen names. And that's
I'd be worried about the management of that, because think every time, and Johnny's said this to me more times than I can count, when I'll have a crazy idea and he'll say, okay, but how are we going to maintain that? And it's a really good question, because it's very easy to start new things. But then if you have all these pen names, are you going to write books for all those pen names? Or are they going to have just a couple titles and then they're going to kind of die out? That is really something to consider, because if you can't feed the pen name, then it might not make sense to start it.
And the follow-ups is completely open. So I like not secret. But would you need to maintain multiple pen names? I think the answer is it kind of depends. So Realm and Sands, that's Sean and I, have kind of made a conscious decision that we're going to publish most genres, not all, under just Platt and Truant as Realm and Sands, because we want to be known as like the Steven Spielberg style, like multi-genre writers. But if you really want to compartmentalize them and have distinct pen names, you certainly could. It's a matter of how much you want to manage, how much management you think that's actually going to entail. I can see that.
I think you could also, if you wanted to do one name but different genres, I think you could probably get away with that with smart cover design, like similar looking books for, like, say you do mystery, similar books for that, but then say you do a romance series on the other side of that, and you have a completely different look. But it would be sort of a people would look at one book and the second book, and they would know that's you either way, and they'd be able to distinguish them.
I think CJ does that. CJ Lyons. I think her books are sort of delineated by cover design, but they will all still show up in your same Amazon profile.
W.C. Hoffman, who started the I Hate You All fan page on Facebook, says, Dave has I Hate You All as a fan page. What would be good names for Sean and Johnny's pages?
I don't understand Facebook very well, so Johnny B. Cohen on Facebook.
Johnny will never see it, so
see as much action as Johnny actually posts. I was actually doing
Johnny's Abs Adoration fan.
Johnny'sAbs.com. I was Facebooking a little bit today because again, apparently it's all Julie all the time. She made a post about finishing a book and posted this screenshot that I didn't understand. I was like, what the hell is this method that you're using? And so I felt like a real Facebook person, and that I was actually responding to people on Facebook. But that's atypical.
Johnny Abs fans.
Yeah.
And Sean?
The nose.
The nose? You don't mind that?
No, I don't mind that. Or the mouth.
He zoned it.
All right. So we're going to do this tomorrow for SPP. We're going to do it on this website. I've come around to liking it.
Yeah, I came around on it. It's. I wish that there were scrolls.
I love the live interaction.
I do. I like it too. Now the trick is going to be on self-publishing podcast. We do want some live interaction, but it can get really distracting. Like, we don't want too much live interaction. That bugs me a little bit. And I remember consciously turning away from some of that when because at the beginning we were allowing more live interaction. It was like, okay, we got to not pay attention to that. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we could just lock it down, right? Like, just go.
Well, I can just move my window slightly to the left so that I don't see it, and that would do the same thing.
Yeah, if you just click on mentions, it'll grade the whole thing out too.
That's
just leave me to do it, because I'm not really paying attention to you guys anyway during the show.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very true.
That's true. And then if you want me to see something, you have to say @ although it's not even @ Johnny B. Truant, because I'm officially Sterling_Stone, since that's the Twitter account that we're logged in under. You guys at least get to use your own Twitter accounts, but mine is just out in the wind.
W.C. Hoffman says the flower to mouth, and Quotidian Light says that sounds dirty.
It kind of does.
Yeah, it does.
Could we go with the deflowered mouth?
Oh God, muff mouth.
No, thank you. You've got that one cornered, dude.
All right, so let's be done. Yeah, it's at 9:30. That was reasonably
2 million.
tight.
Wait. We got to say last thing before we go, because W.C. Hoffman says 2 million gets to deflower it.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, we're getting a ton of likes.
Yes, we are.
You got some too, I saw. And Sean.
Yeah, I got a quicker trigger finger here. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining us for the Ask Us Anything, and we'll see you later. Now, just remember, guys, no swearing at the audience once I click off here, because it's still open.